Dubious Khan, and welcome into the Idiot Box, a showcase of the best, worst, and weirdest that television has to offer. Whenever someone does a review show like this, inevitably the host gets asked what they think is the best example of the type of media that they've chosen to analyze. And I'm no exception to this. So I've decided for this final trip into the Idiot Box, I'm going to talk about a television classic. A show so strange, so surreal, so subversive, and so layered with metaphor and subtext that people are still analyzing and discussing it today, almost 50 years after it originally aired. I am, of course, talking about The Prisoner. Created by actor Patrick McGoohan, The Prisoner aired in Canada and the UK in 1967 and in the United States in 1968. On the surface, the series concept seems straightforward enough. An unnamed secret agent angrily resigns his position and makes plans to leave the country. Before he can, he is gassed and finds himself in a surreal place known only as The Village. The Village is inhabited by a variety of people from around the world, but things get increasingly odd. No one in the village has a name, only identified by numbers. Our unnamed agent is continually referred to as Number 6. The village is run by a series of rotating overseers, all designated Number 2. Number 2 works for an unseen superior, commonly assumed to be Number 1, and has one goal: get Number 6 to reveal why he resigned. From this point, the central conflict is established as Number 2 tries to coax Number 6's reasons for resigning from him. Number 6 himself plans to escape the village, or failing that, bring it down from within. But I'm not going to go into a full in-depth analysis of the show here because, one, it does it a disservice, and two, it's something that you really need to watch and experience for yourself. So instead, I'm going to give you 5 reasons why I believe The Prisoner is the best TV series of all time. Reason number 1, a clear beginning, middle, and end. One of the problems with some concepts on TV is that if a show is successful and keeps getting renewed for season after season, sometimes the writing team has to stretch that concept so far and for so long that eventually it breaks. And that's usually the point where the show jumps the shark and begins its slow decline into eventual cancellation. When Patrick McGoohan created the show, he had a definite plan in mind. 1 season, 7 episodes. Yeah. Only 7 episodes. However, when he sold the show to ITC, Sir Lou Gray tried to get him to do 26 episodes, as that would be a number easy to syndicate. Eventually, a compromise was reached, and the series wound up with 17 episodes. These days, The Prisoner would be classified as a limited series, longer than a miniseries, but not intended to run more than 1 season. And with 17 episodes, pretty much it enables the show to remain focused on what it wants to say, how it wants to say it, and come to a conclusion. It also helps new fans to be able to come in and get the whole story without a lot of investment of time on their part. Reason number 2, a truly unique setting. The exteriors of The Prisoner were largely shot at the Portmeirion Resort in Wales. Designed by architect Chloe Williams Ellis in an homage to the architecture of the Mediterranean, the buildings of the resort are an eclectic mix of styles, colors, and environments. This eclectic hodgepodge is what's allowed Portmeirion to stand in for several exotic locales in many film and TV series, including episodes of classic Doctor Who and, of course, Danger Man, which was Patrick McGoohan's TV series before The Prisoner. It's known as Secret Agent here in the United States. It also helps contribute to the surreal atmosphere which The Prisoner is striving for. Since the entire purpose of the village is to keep its captives off-balance and confused in order to learn what they know, the mix of architectural styles and colors, plus the constant broadcasting of music and announcements, the use of a penny-farthing bicycle as a recurring insignia, the salutes, and even the font used on the signs, all contribute to tell the audience that this place has its own rules. And those rules are fluid for a very good reason. Reason number 3, commentary on just about every aspect of society. Patrick McGoohan created the series partially out of frustration with what he saw as the suppression of the individual within society. As a result, the village stands as a microcosm of society as a whole, with Number 6 standing in place of the individual. This allows the show to bring several sociological targets directly into its crosshairs. Free for All brings elections under scrutiny when the office of Number 2 comes up for election and Number 6 is convinced to run. However, even though Number 6 seems to do well in the election, he finds his voter base is a bit off.
In your spare time, if you get it, What will you do? Less work and more play. Thanks.
And when he's finally elected and tries to implement actual change, i.e. set everyone in the village free, it doesn't go as planned.
Will you never learn? This is only the beginning.
Education comes under target in The General. A new education initiative starts in the village whereby its inhabitants can learn brand new lessons by way of subliminal messages in television broadcasts. These have been created by the Professor and the General under the order of number 2. However, number 6 becomes suspicious when it seems that, 1, if you watch the show, you can't help but learn whatever information it's broadcasting, and 2, no matter which villager you ask a question of, they will give the exact same answer. And I do mean the exact same answer.
Isn't it? When was the Treaty of Adrianople?
September 1829.
What happened in 1830?
Greek independence was assured and guaranteed.
By whom?
Russia, France, Britain.
Can I help you?
When was the Treaty of Adrianople?
September 1829.
What happened in 1830?
Greek independence was guaranteed.
By whom?
By Russia, France, and Britain.
Eventually, after hearing a recording from the Professor calling for the destruction of the General and getting some assistance from the current number 2's assistant, number 12, number 6 attempts to send out the Professor's speech in the next broadcast. However, he's captured, and after refusing to say who had given him the speech, he is taken to meet the General.
All the Professor's own work. He gave birth to it and loves it with a passionate love. Probably hates it even more.
Number 2 extols the virtues of the General and makes it somewhat clear what the village's ultimate goal for the General is.
Knowledgeable cabbages.
What sort of knowledge?
For the time being, past history will have to do, but shortly we shall be picking our own.
Number 2 suspects number 12 gave number 6 the Professor's speech, and is about to use the General to confirm it. However, number 6 jumps in and appeals to number 2's vanity, stating that there is a question that the General cannot answer. Number 2 allows him to ask the question, and the results are explosive.
What was your question?
W-H-Y. Question mark.
Why?
Why?
As anyone can tell you, the late 60s were a time of turmoil, with the war in Vietnam going ahead full steam. And as a result, there was one episode of The Prisoner that was not allowed to be aired on CBS until the series went into reruns. Living in Harmony is an interesting episode in that it's a Western. With no explanation, without using the traditional opening of the series, we see number 6 going through a Western version of being shanghaied and dumped in a town called Harmony. He unintentionally triggers a mob to try to lynch him, but is saved by the judge who runs the town, much like number 2 runs the village, with the aid of a younger man called the Kid, and is taken into protective custody. To satiate the mob, the judge gives him the brother of saloon girl Kathy. Kathy later helps number 6 escape jail, and he tries to escape Harmony, but is dragged back. An impromptu trial is held, but it's Kathy put on trial for aiding a prisoner to escape. The judge then offers number 6 a deal.
When you work for me, I'll let her go.
You're a bad judge.
We'll see. We'll see.
If anything happens, it'll be paid for.
Nothing could happen if you were sheriff.
Number 6 agrees to be sheriff, but refuses to carry a gun. This doesn't please the judge, who sends several armed men to try to force Number 6 to take up arms. It doesn't work, and Number 6 plans to escape Harmony with Kathy. But while he's trying to secure a route out of town, the judge has the kid kidnap Kathy. The kid ends up strangling her, and Number 6 buries Kathy, turns in his badge, and picks up the gun. He kills the kid in a showdown. The judge shows up again with a posse of armed men and tells Number 6 to work for him or be killed. Number 6 picks off the posse, but is ultimately shot by the judge. As it turns out, the whole town is fake, and Number 6 has been under psychotropic drugs this whole time and fed dialogue by the current Number 2 and his assistants, who were Kathy and the kid. CBS often claimed that they pulled this episode because of the explicit use of hallucinogenic drugs, but this doesn't hold water, as there are many episodes of The Prisoner where forcibly inducing people with drugs is a common plot element. It was theorized that Number 6's refusal to take up arms for Harmony's sake was a subtle commentary on U.S. involvement in the war in Vietnam and the conscientious objectors of same. CBS and ITC would confirm years later that this was in fact the metaphor that the series was going for. Reason number 4, a defiance of classification. What exactly is The Prisoner? Is it a sci-fi series? Is it a spy drama? Is it a western? Is it a satire? Is it a delusional fever dream being broadcast weekly into your living room? Well, it's all of those. And more.
I wanted to have controversy, argument, fights, discussions, people in anger, waving fists in my face, saying, "How dare you? Why don't you do more secret agents that we can understand?" I was delighted with that reaction. I think it's a very good one. That was the intention of the exercise.
The Prisoner deliberately refuses to provide the viewer any easy answers. That includes describing what kind of series it is. Tone and theme are more important in any given episode than anything else in the series, and that includes continuity. In fact, to this day, there is still an ongoing debate amongst Prisoner fans about the correct chronological order of the series. About the only thing that people can agree on is that the series begins with Arrival and ends with Once Upon a Time and Fallout. Everything else in between is entirely up for grabs. Even one of the major home video releases a few years ago from A&E offered their own order of viewing, but among Prisoner fans, even some of them, myself included, don't think that that particular order is correct either. Any given episode of The Prisoner can evoke feelings of danger, dread, action, confusion, and yes, even humor.
I can never remember. 1 lump or 2?
It's in the file.
Yes, as a matter of fact, yes. But it would save time if you just answered.
Are you running out of time?
Does not take sugar. Subsection 6, paragraph 4. Add. On the other hand, persecution complex amounting to mania. Paranoid delusions of grandeur.
And all of this strangeness and genre mixing and confusing and outright contradictory information leads to reason number 5, an ambiguous ending that works. We all remember when Lost came to an end and left its audience with an ambiguous ending that no one really kind of understood initially and really just kind of made everybody disappointed and unsatisfied. Now, this isn't to say that ambiguous endings can't work for the end of the series. The Prisoner accomplished this beautifully because they did one simple thing that Lost didn't. The Prisoner concludes with a story that carries over 2 episodes, Once Upon a Time and Fallout. By the point of Once Upon a Time, the Masters of the Village have reached a crisis point with Number 6. A stalemate has broken out. Number 6 remains trapped in the village despite his best efforts, but by the same token, the various Number 2s and other methods the village have employed have failed to get Number 6 to reveal why he resigned. And so, the Masters of the Village decide to bring back a previous Number 2, played by the delightfully charismatic Leo McKern, who decides it's time to break the stalemate once and for all.
You think he's that important? There's certainly no other alternative. You must risk either one of us.
Who's standing beside you now? I intend to discover who are the prisoners and who the warders.
I am a good man. I was a good man, but if you get him, he will be better, and there's no other way. I repeat, no other way.
I will not make any deals with you.
Number 6 is brainwashed in his sleep and taken to an underground chamber where he's mentally regressed to the age of a child. The idea is that number 2 will force him to relive his entire life at an accelerated rate, and when they finally get to the point where he resigned, number 6 will tell number 2 why he resigned, and that'll be it. The village wins, number 6 is broken, and his rebellion doesn't matter anymore. But...
A, B, C, D, E, Salem.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
6,
5.
6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 1, 6, 1, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 1, 6, 1, 6, 1, 6, 1. Up does the other.
Up goes the weasel.
And eventually, he turns the tables, and number 2's time runs out. Literally.
Ask on. Ask yourself. Why? Why 15? Please.
Don't say please.
I say,
Don't.
please, I plead.
9,
Too late.
8,
7,
6.
6.
Die, 6, die! Die! Die!
3,
Die! Die!
1.
Die! Die!
What you desire?
Number 1.
I'll take you.
And here's where the show gets its most surreal and metaphorical. Fallout. In Fallout, the entire episode is a strange, almost stream of consciousness examination of the establishment versus the various forms of rebellion. Number 6 has the clothes he wore in the beginning of Arrival returned to him, and not referred to as number 6 for the rest of the episode. We see this council who apparently run the village but seem to answer to a beeping green light labeled 1. We are then presented with 3 examples of rebellion, the first by the rebellion of youth exemplified by number 48, played by Alexis Tanner, who also played the kid in Living in Harmony.
Read the charge.
The prisoner has been charged with the most serious breach of social etiquette. Total defiance of the elementary laws which sustain our community. Questioning the decisions of those we voted to govern us. Unhealthy aspects of speech and dress not in accordance with general practice, and the refusal to observe, wear, or respond to his number.
Sir, you approve the proceedings.
I note them.
Sir, I take it you have no comment at this stage.
Not at this stage.
Then the accused will be held in the place of sentence until after your inauguration. Remove him!
Then, rebellion from within the system as exemplified by a revived from the dead number 2.
You couldn't even let me rest in peace. How is it done?
There have to be some security secrets that are kept from a late number 2.
Did you ever meet him?
What's that?
Did you ever meet number 1?
Face to face.
Yes.
Meet him? Oh, meet him. Shall I give him a stare?
You transgress!
I shall give him a stare.
You die!
Again. Then I'll die with my own mind. You'll hypnotize me no longer.
And then finally, successful rebellion by the way of number 6 himself.
All about you is yours. We concede. We offer. We plead for you to lead us.
Or go.
Go if you wish.
Oh, what the hell. It's the last episode. Cue the meme!
It's a trap!
A trap that number 6 doesn't fall for. Instead, he finally meets the unseen number 1.
I will not be pushed, filed, stamped, indexed, briefed, debriefed, or numbered. I will not be pushed, filed, stamped, indexed, briefed, debriefed, or numbered. My life is my own. I.
And finally, the rebellion truly begins. And ultimately, number 6 and his allies escape the village. And with that one shot, with the automatic door that every building in the village has, coupled with the 45 minutes of sheer madness that we just witnessed, if you're paying attention, suddenly the ambiguous isn't so ambiguous. Even if you don't get all the metaphor and allegory in this episode, from the fact that Patrick McGoohan isn't listed by name in the closing credits, to the fact that the very final shot of the series is identical to the very first, the reason the prisoner can get away with all of this strange symbolism and allegory and metaphor and unanswered questions comes down to one simple thing. The basic conflict of the story was resolved. This is not a deep read situation. This is purely surface. This is the framework everything the prisoner does and says hangs on, but it's the basic story. The prisoner succeeds in its ambiguity where shows like Lost have failed because that core story has a definite ending. Does number 6 escape the village? On the surface, where everyone can see without having to think about it, yes, he does. The base conflict is resolved, giving anyone watching a sense of closure and satisfaction. It's this resolution, even though it's ultimately meaningless in the larger context of the series as a whole, that allows the prisoner to get away with this kind of ambiguity, whereas other shows maybe didn't accomplish it as well. And there you have it, 5 reasons why I think The Prisoner is the best TV series of all time. If you haven't seen this show before, I urge you to track it down for yourself and experience it, because this show is just as intelligent, just as creative, and just as frighteningly relevant now as it was 50 years ago. I'm Dubious Khan, and I'd like to thank all of you for joining me for all these trips into the Idiot Box, and I hope you'll stick around to see what I have planned for the future. But first, I need to take care of some unfinished business. Mr. Khan. Mr. Ampersand. Come in. Trouble with your insulation. There was a fire the other day. That's the extent of the damage here. My neighbors weren't as lucky. I see. Fortunately, luck appears to be with you. I meant my neighbors weren't as lucky as you. Have a seat. first of all, here's this. It's the copy of your firm's classified files that were sent to me. I haven't looked at any of them. But you know the contents. Only the stuff that pertained to me and Miss Nightmare. I don't know, I don't care, and I don't want to know what else you do for your clients. Well, I thank you for your candor, but I'm fairly certain that this courtesy comes with a price. Honestly, I should have just asked you the question when you first showed up. What the hell is going on, and what does it have to do with these? And who exactly is V, and what does he have to do with all this? And don't give me any nonsense about privilege, okay? I'm tired of games and half-truths, Ampersand. What the hell is going on? Is it true that you're ending Into the Idiot Box? Yeah, I just finished shooting the last episode right as you rang the bell. What I have to tell you stays between us. Agreed? Agreed. Have you ever wondered why it is that so many internet reviewers seem to attract bizarre and strange confrontations with people and things that would largely be considered fictional? Honestly, I just assumed it was a side effect of that mess that happened around Jupiter 6 years ago. That only exacerbated the problem. No, approximately 10 years ago, the sudden upsurge in comedic internet reviews and their subject matter into the mass consciousness widened a leak of sorts. What kind of leak? Are you familiar with the term the Gardner Principle as pertaining to comic books? Well, yeah, it comes from a Flash comic book where Barry Allen met Jay Garrick, the Golden Age Flash, and established the DC multiverse concept. And pretty much Gardner Fox wrote in a little side meta joke that in Jay Garrick's universe, the adventures of Barry Allen's Flash are in a comic book written by Gardner Fox, who claims he gets all his story ideas from a dream. Wait a minute, are you saying the Gardner Principle is real? In a way. The leak I mentioned seems to come from a realm of pure thought and imagination, and at the firm we internally refer to this as the fictional plane. It used to be that ideas for movies, television, novels, video games, what have you, would come through a tiny little pinhole leak and strike the right brain, and that person would get the idea. But ever since the rise of the internet critic and the various things that happened to them, it's caused suspension of disbelief of people to widen. And that's ripped the rift open fully, and the next thing you know, our dimension is fundamentally changed. And this is why for the last 10 years we've had magic and mad science and dimensional rifts and time travel and fictional characters showing up to beat the crap out of any reviewer who criticizes the stories that they're in. Exactly. My client is one of those fictional characters who fell through the rift and wound up here. It took him some time to find us because his manifestation was incomplete. What do you mean, incomplete? Have you ever wondered what would happen if a fictional character manifested in our world who was played primarily as a point of view shot? A point of view shot? What the hell? How could a character Wait a minute. Vern? Your client is Vern from the Ernest commercials. Yes, he came through approximately around the time that the problems around Jupiter happened. And merely existing in this dimension is causing him an existential crisis the likes of which you would not believe. I'll bet, but what does this have to do with me? The research that the firm has done, we've determined that if enough items from the fictional plane are brought together in one place, a small rift back will open up, long enough to transport whoever's holding those items there. We have a team of interns who do nothing but scour the internet looking for occurrences like this. When the Mystery Incorporated locket arrived at your front door, we decided to continue observing you to see if any more items appeared. So wait a minute, this is all about sending Vern home? I'm all for that! It never occurred to you to just simply tell me what was going on and ask for my help? I have told you constantly, Mr. Khan, that my interest in you has never been personal. Honestly, until you found the instruction book from the greatest American hero out in the desert, we weren't even certain that any more items were going to manifest around you. And we just needed you to keep making more videos until we were certain. You're not answering my question. Why didn't you just ask? I would have been more than happy to help. I mean, for crying out loud, why did you go to all the trouble of pissing me off so much? You know, Ramen Muncher, threatening me with the review court, the friggin' vincula vindictae. Yes. I'm afraid the bracelets were a miscalculation on my part. When I selected you as Miss Nightmare's partner for that particular incident, I thought that the added time limit would put more pressure on you and cause you to work also harder on your own videos. Unfortunately, I neglected to take into account that the magic of the vincula vindictae would interfere with more items appearing. If you recall, only one appeared during the entire time you wore that bracelet. And by the time I realized my mistake, it was too late for me to do anything about it, and for that I apologize. Again, evading the question, counselor, why didn't you just ask for my help? Yes. We discovered something when we first investigated you. We found that your work ethic when it comes to your own personal projects is somewhat, unreliable. What do you mean, unreliable? You tend not to finish what you start. We've looked at your online footprint. We've found 3 canceled webcomics, numerous half-finished novels and screenplays, countless unfinished fanfiction stories, and even now, as far as your video production goes, you're nowhere near as prolific now as you were when you first started. Oh, gee, thanks. Except we noted one way that never failed to have you complete something. Whenever you became agitated enough, either with yourself or with external forces, you tended to channel that anger into productivity. And you figured if you annoyed me enough, I'd continue making videos out of spite, if nothing else, and get enough items for you to send Vern home. Exactly. I was intending to visit as soon as you had acquired the key from your Tower of Terror review. Unfortunately, my own workload intervened. And then you announced that you were going to end your series. And at that point, I realized it was just a matter of time waiting for your call. Okay then. What are you doing? I am gathering up all of this crap so you can send your client home and get out of my hair for good. So, elements of harmony, instruction book, locket, key. No, wait! Coin. Mr. Khan? Mr. Khan! Oh, hell. Absolute bloody disaster. Malcolm, Douglas. Yes, I have the items. We can send Vern home. No, we have another problem. Khan stacked up all the items and made the mistake of touching them while they were all in contact with each other. Yes, they're still here. Well, we're going to have to do something, a level 5 cleanup at least. He has friends, he has family. They're going to wonder what happened to him when he vanishes from the face of the internet. Oh my God, you are so single-minded, Malcolm. You always do this. Yes, I'm on the next plane back. Oh my God. Yes, we will send Vern home, we'll lock the items in the vault, and then we can figure out what we're going to do about the... Are you kidding me, Malcolm? I don't give a damn if you are my older brother and the senior partner at the firm. We're going to do this my way from now on. Do you understand? Oh, piss off too, Malcolm. Aggravating. This didn't have to be this bloody complicated.